My brother slapped my daughter in front of the whole room and said, like mother, like daughter, both worthless. Then he laughed like it was a joke. My dad gave a smug look and added, she had to learn a little shame anyway. What they didn't realize was the microphone was still on. And what I did next? It flipped his entire life upside down and turned it into a living nightmare. My own brother slapped my 6-year-old daughter across the face in front of our entire family, and my parents laughed. They thought their cruelty was safe, that their twisted family dynamic was hidden, but they forgot one crucial detail: the microphone was on. And what I did next turned his perfect life into a living hell. I'm Audrey, 30 years old, and nothing could have prepared me for that moment. My daughter, Lily, just 6 years old, was hit by her uncle Derek, my brother, right there at our family reunion. Even worse, I heard my father, Howard, smirk and say, well, she needed to learn some shame. My mother, Eleanor, just tittered along. They truly believed they were untouchable. Growing up in the Thompson household, I learned my place early. I was the scapegoat, the one who could never do anything right. Derek, my brother, was the golden child, flawless in their eyes. My father, a corporate attorney, had rigid expectations. Derek mirrored his aggressive personality perfectly. I, on the other hand, questioned things. That made me the family troublemaker. Audrey just doesn't understand how to behave properly, my mother would tell relatives, shaking her head with practiced disappointment. Not like our Derek. By 16, I'd built a protective shell, counting the days until I could escape. When I met Jason in college, he felt like my ticket to freedom. He saw me, truly saw me, in a way my family never had. We married young, at 20, desperate for a family of my own. My parents attended, their smiles tight, their criticisms thinly veiled. Derek, already climbing the corporate ladder, brought an expensive gift and a condescending joke. I never thought my little sister would find someone willing to take her on. Good luck, Jason. You'll need it. The uncomfortable laughter still echoes in my mind. For a while, I thought I'd escaped. Jason and I were happy, even if we weren't wealthy. When Lily arrived at 24, a tiny bundle of pure joy with her father's blue eyes and my dark hair, it felt like everything was finally falling into place. Holding her, I made a silent promise. She would always know she was loved, exactly as she was. She would never question her worth the way I had. But life has a way of throwing curveballs. The first cracks in my marriage appeared when Lily was 3. Jason became distant. I found texts from someone named Kara. He admitted to a 6-month affair. We tried counseling, but his heart wasn't in it. By Lily's 4th birthday, we were divorced. I didn't tell my family the messy truth, knowing they'd twist Jason's infidelity into my failure. My mother still managed it. Men don't leave happy homes, Audrey. What did you do to push him away? Single motherhood brought financial challenges. My administrative assistant job barely covered rent and childcare. Sometimes, I had to swallow my pride and ask my parents for help. Each time, the money came with a lecture about responsibility and poor life choices. Meanwhile, Derek's life was a gilded cage of perfection. He was the youngest VP at his firm, married to Natalie, a pediatrician from a wealthy family. They had no children, focusing on careers first, Derek would say. My parents held them up as the ultimate example. If only you had applied yourself like your brother, my father would drone, you could have had something to show for yourself. Despite everything, I wanted Lily to know her grandparents and her uncle. Children deserve family connections, I thought, even if I had to act as a buffer. So, this summer, I decided to attend the annual family reunion at my parents' lake house for the first time in 3 years. You sure about this? My friend Tara asked. These people have never had your back. They're still family, I replied, though my stomach clenched. And Lily loves the lake. I can handle a weekend for her sake. Lily was ecstatic. At 6, she was pure energy and curiosity, with a passion for singing that filled our small apartment. She had my stubbornness and a confidence I envied, unafraid to take up space. Will Uncle Derek be there? And Grandma and Grandpa, she chirped. And can I swim in the lake every day? Yes to all of it, I promised, ignoring my apprehension. I didn't mention my brother-in-law, Paul, would be recording the reunion for a family documentary. My father was insistent on documenting the Thompson family legacy, especially Derek's achievements. As we drove, I repeated mantras. It's just 3 days. I can handle anything for 3 days. I'm not that scared little girl anymore. I'll protect Lily. Looking back, I realize I was trying to convince myself of the impossible. You can't protect someone from toxicity while placing them directly in harm's way. The lake house stood like a monument to old money and pretense. As I pulled our modest car into the driveway, behind Derek's gleaming BMW and my parents' Mercedes, I felt that familiar shrinking sensation. "We're here," Lily exclaimed, unbuckling before I'd even parked. Her excitement was innocent, oblivious to the undercurrents that tensed my shoulders. My mother greeted us, her eyes scanning me critically before settling on Lily with more warmth. Inside, the great room buzzed. My father nodded without pausing his conversation about stock options. Derek and Natalie emerged from the kitchen, his arm possessively around her. Well, the prodigal sister returns," he announced loudly, and with little Miss Lily. "You've grown since I last saw you, kiddo." Lily, suddenly shy, pressed against my leg. Natalie, always kind, offered a genuine smile. "It's lovely to see you both." Derek sipped his bourbon, eyeing me. "Still working at that little marketing place?" "What is it?" "Assistant to someone important." "Administrative assistant," I corrected, refusing to take the bait. "And yes, still there. I got a small promotion last month, actually." "How nice for you," he replied with manufactured enthusiasm. "I just closed a 7-figure deal with Anderson Tech, Dad." "Did I mention the bonus they're giving me?" Just like that, the attention shifted. My father clapped Derek on the shoulder. "That's my boy, always aiming higher." Paul, my brother-in-law, was setting up his camera equipment. He gave me a sympathetic nod. "Your dad wants a lot of footage of Derek talking about his career achievements," he quietly explained. "I've got the wireless mic set up around the main areas to capture natural conversations too." Our assigned bedroom was the smallest, tucked away with a view of the neighbor's yard, not the lake. I helped Lily unpack, listening to her chatter about her cousins. "Can I wear my blue swimsuit? And can I show everyone my new song? I practiced all week." My heart tightened. Lily's uninhibited enthusiasm was exactly what had been crushed out of me at her age. "Of course, you can sing, honey. Just remember that sometimes adults are talking, so find a good moment, okay?" The first evening was a predictable undercurrent of competition. My father dominated dinner with questions about Derek's achievements. My mother commented on everything from my hair to my parenting. Lily's cousins, aged 7 to 12, already mirrored the family hierarchy. They corrected her pronunciation, rolled their eyes when she spoke too loudly, and excluded her from their games with a practiced politeness adults might miss. Later, helping with dishes, my Aunt Linda approached me. "Audrey, Derek mentioned you've been struggling since the divorce. We have a position opening in our company's mail room if you're interested." "I appreciate that," I said carefully, "but I'm actually up for another promotion at Madison. I'm heading a small project team now." She patted my arm with disbelief. "Well, the offer stands. Sometimes we need to be realistic about our capabilities." That night, tucking Lily into bed, I found her unusually quiet. Cousin Emma said my singing was annoying, and Uncle Derek told me girls shouldn't be so loud if they want people to like them. I swallowed hard, recognizing the familiar patterns. "Lily, listen to me. Your voice is beautiful, and you have every right to be heard. Some people just don't know how to appreciate enthusiasm. Grandpa said you were too loud as a kid, too, and that's why you always got in trouble." I forced myself to breathe through the anger. "Well, sometimes adults are wrong, even grandparents, especially your mom's parents." She giggled. I kissed her forehead. "Tomorrow will be better. We'll go swimming and have fun, just us." But as I lay awake, listening to the muffled laughter downstairs, I couldn't shake the feeling that I had made a terrible mistake. Morning arrived with brilliant sunshine. Lily woke with her usual enthusiasm, the previous day's hurts forgotten. "Mom, wake up. Uncle Paul said they're making a special breakfast in the big room." The big room was my parents' pretentious, great hall, a cavernous space with excellent acoustics. Paul was discreetly adjusting microphones. "Getting all the family drama on tape?" I asked quietly. "Your dad wants authentic family interactions," he replied with a meaningful look. "For posterity." Breakfast proceeded without incident at first. Lily joined her cousins, trying to enter their conversations while being subtly excluded. About 30 minutes in, the children finished eating and moved to the play area. The adults remained at the table, conversation growing louder as mimosas were refilled. I kept one eye on Lily, who had taken to singing softly to herself. Gradually, her singing grew more confident. It was a cartoon song about friendship and adventures, her sweet voice carrying in the room, occasionally rising above the adult chatter. I noticed Derek's jaw tightening each time Lily hit a high note. He shot several pointed looks my way, which I pretended not to see. My nieces and nephews had abandoned Lily to play a board game, excluding her with practiced casualness. "Audrey," my mother called across the table. "Don't you think Lily is being a bit disruptive?" Before I could answer, Lily's voice soared into the chorus. "For God's sake," Derek muttered, loud enough for nearby conversations to pause. "Can't you control your child for 5 minutes?" I began to stand, intending to quietly ask Lily to lower her volume, when everything happened at once. Derek pushed back from the table abruptly, his chair scraping loudly. He strode toward the children's area. I moved to intercept him, but my aunt asked me a question that delayed me just seconds. Seconds that changed everything. Derek reached Lily. She looked up at her uncle with an innocent smile that quickly transformed into shock as his hand connected with her cheek. The slap echoed through the suddenly silent room. Time seemed to freeze. Lily's small body rocked backward. Her coloring book fell. The red imprint of Derek's hand bloomed instantly on her pale cheek. "Like mother, like daughter, both are useless," Derek said loudly, looking around the room as if expecting approval. "Can't even behave properly in public." My father's voice cut through my stunned paralysis. "Well, she needed to learn some shame," he said with a smirk. "Girls these days aren't taught proper manners." My mother's tinkling laugh followed. Audrey never did understand the value of a quiet presence. I finally unfroze, rushing to Lily, who had begun to sob, her small body shaking with shock, pain, and humiliation. As I gathered her into my arms, the enormity of what had just happened crashed over me. "What is wrong with you?" I hissed at Derek, who stood watching with his arms crossed. "She's 6 years old. She's old enough to learn that the world doesn't revolve around her noise," he replied coldly. "Maybe if someone had taught you that lesson, you wouldn't be a divorced secretary raising a brat alone." "Administrative assistant," I corrected automatically, my voice shaking with rage and shock. "And she's not a brat. She's a child who is singing." My father folded his newspaper precisely. "Audrey, you're overreacting as usual. A little discipline never hurt anyone. Look how well Derek turned out compared to how you coddled that girl." The room had divided into distinct camps, those openly agreeing with Derek, those uncomfortable but silent, and Paul, who stood very still by his equipment, his face pale. The microphone. The documentary microphones were on, recording everything. Through my fury and my daughter's tears, I realized we had irrefutable evidence. Derek must have realized it too, because his eyes darted to Paul and the recording equipment. "You know what?" I said, standing with Lily in my arms, her face buried against my shoulder. "We're done here. Nobody touches my daughter. Nobody." "Oh, stop with the dramatics," my mother said dismissively. It was hardly a tap. "You're embarrassing yourself." "I'm embarrassing myself?" I laughed incredulously. My brother just assaulted a 6-year-old for singing, and I'm the embarrassment? Derek stepped toward me menacingly. "Watch your mouth, Audrey." It was discipline, not assault. Something you clearly know nothing about. I backed away, holding Lily tighter. "Stay away from us. We're leaving." "Running away again?" Derek called after me as I headed for the stairs. "That's all you've ever been good at." I didn't respond, focusing instead on getting Lily somewhere safe. As we reached our room, I could hear the murmur of conversation resuming below. My family already moving on from what they considered a minor incident rather than the unforgivable act it was. What they didn't know is that everything had changed. The rules of engagement had shifted permanently. My brother had crossed a line that could never be uncrossed. And thanks to my father's obsession with documenting the family legacy, I had proof. In our small bedroom, I gently placed Lily on the bed. Her crying had subsided to hiccuping sobs, but the red handprint remained vivid. "It hurts, Mommy," she whimpered. "Why did Uncle Derek hit me? Was I bad?" The question shattered something inside me. "No, baby, you are not bad. Not at all. Uncle Derek was wrong to hit you. Very, very wrong." "But Grandpa said." "Grandpa was wrong, too," I said firmly, gathering her close. "Nobody should ever hit you, especially not for singing. Your voice is beautiful." As Lily gradually calmed, I began packing our bags with shaking hands. We needed to leave immediately. I had no doubt that if we stayed, my family would gaslight us both, minimizing what happened until Lily herself began to question her memories and feelings. A soft knock at the door made me tense. "It's Paul," came the quiet reply. "Can I talk to you for a minute alone?" I hesitated, then opened the door slightly. "Now isn't a good time." Paul's face was drawn with concern. "I know. Listen, I got everything on tape. The slap, what Derek said, your dad's comments, all of it." He lowered his voice. "I can make you a copy before they realize and make me delete it." A cold clarity washed over me. "You do that?" He nodded. "What Derek did was assault, plain and simple. And the others." He shook his head in disgust. "I married into this family, but I've never seen anything like that. Linda doesn't know I'm talking to you." "Thank you," I whispered. "We're leaving as soon as I finish packing. Meet me by my car in 20 minutes. I'll download a copy of the audio to a USB drive for you." After he left, I called Tara. "How's the family reunion from hell?" she asked cheerfully. "Derek hit Lily," I said, my voice breaking. "Slapped her across the face for singing too loudly. And my parents laughed." "He what?" Tara's outrage exploded. "Tell me you're leaving right now." "Packing as we speak." "Come straight to my house," she insisted. "Don't go home in case they try to follow you." By the time I ended the call, Lily had fallen asleep, exhausted. I finished packing quickly, then gently woke her. "We're going to visit Aunt Tara," I explained. "We need to leave quietly." "Okay," she nodded, still subdued in a way that broke my heart. As we made our way downstairs, my mother intercepted us. "Where do you think you're going?" she demanded. "Home," I replied flatly. "Or did you think we'd stay after Derek assaulted my daughter?" "Don't be ridiculous." It was hardly a tap. "You're overreacting as usual." "A tap doesn't leave a handprint," I said, shifting so she could see Lily's face, where the mark was still visible. For a moment, doubt flickered in my mother's eyes, but she quickly recovered. "Children bruise easily. You're making a scene over nothing." "Nothing." I laughed bitterly. "Would it be nothing if someone slapped you for talking during breakfast? Or if I slapped Derek for being condescending?" "That's different," she insisted. "Adults don't need discipline." "Neither do children," I countered. "They need guidance and respect, not violence." My father appeared. "Audrey, you're being hysterical. Sit down, have a drink, and we can discuss this rationally." "There's nothing to discuss," I said, moving toward the door. "We're leaving. If you walk out that door," my father warned, "don't expect any more financial help. No more bailing you out when you can't make rent." The threat hung in the air, meant to remind me of my precarious financial situation. In the past, it might have worked. Not today. "Keep your money," I said calmly. "It's not worth this." As I guided Lily toward the door, Derek appeared, whiskey in hand. "Running away as usual, little sister? Can't face the consequences of your poor parenting." I stopped, looking him directly in the eyes. "The only consequence I'm avoiding is allowing my daughter to think it's normal for men to hit children." "Enjoy your perfect life, Derek. I hope it was worth showing everyone who you really are." His face darkened. "Is that a threat?" "No," I replied, opening the front door. "Just an observation." As promised, Paul was waiting by his car. He pressed a small USB drive into my hand. "The audio is clear as day," he said quietly. "Derek's slap, his comment about you both being useless, your dad saying she needed to learn shame, your mom laughing. It's all there. I'd be careful how you use it, though." They'll know it came from me. Thank you, I whispered. I won't implicate you unless I absolutely have to. The drive to Tara's apartment was silent, Lily dozing. By the time we arrived, a plan was forming. Tara met us at the door, enveloping us in fierce hugs. I made up the guest room for you both, she said. Stay as long as you need. That evening, after Lily was asleep, Tara and I sat at her kitchen table with the USB drive. Are you sure you want to hear this again? She asked. I need to know exactly what was said, I replied. And I need a witness who isn't family. The recording was worse than I remembered. The casual cruelty, the satisfied smirk, my mother's tittering laugh. Jesus, Tara whispered. I knew your family was toxic, but this. I know, I said, my resolve hardening. The question is, what do I do about it? You could go to the police, she suggested. That's assault on a minor, plain and simple. I agreed. But you know how these things work. It would be my word against theirs without this recording, which might not even be admissible. And they'd paint me as the unstable single mother trying to extort money. So what then? Let them get away with it. I shook my head slowly. No. Derek crossed a line today, and there have to be consequences. Real ones. Over the next few days, while Lily and I adjusted to life at Tara's, I began researching. First, I took Lily to her pediatrician, Dr. Winters, who documented the fading bruise and referred us to a child psychologist. She's experiencing some trauma responses, Dr. Winters explained gently. Nightmares, clinginess, fear of male authority figures. Dr. Garner, the psychologist, confirmed Lily is showing classic signs of an acute stress response. What happened to her was significant trauma, not a minor discipline incident as your family seems to believe. She provided a written assessment. Next came the police report. The officer was compassionate but realistic. Without visible injuries or independent witnesses, this would typically be hard to pursue. Family discipline falls into a gray area legally. But with the audio recording, she paused, having just listened. That changes things. This report establishes a formal record. My phone had been buzzing constantly with messages from family. My mother's texts oscillated between guilt-tripping, "You're breaking your father's heart with this drama," and minimizing, "It was just a little slap for heaven's sake." Derek had progressed from dismissive, "Get over yourself," to threatening, "You'll regret making a big deal out of this." I responded to none of them. Instead, I created a carefully edited version of the audio, not manipulated, but trimmed to include only the critical moments. Derek's slap, his useless comment, my father's statement about shame, and my mother's laughter. I added no commentary, letting their actions and words speak for themselves. Then I took a deep breath and sent this clip, along with a factual, unemotional account, to 3 strategic recipients: the board of directors at Meridian Financial, Derek's company, the leadership of the Children's Future Foundation, where he sat on the board, and the Westlake Business Leaders Mentorship Program, where he worked with high school students. Each message was professional, explaining I felt ethically obligated to share this information given Derek's positions of influence. I requested confidentiality regarding my identity. Are you sure about this? Tara asked as I hovered over the send button on the final email. There's no going back. I'm sure, I replied, thinking of Lily's tearful question, was I bad? No child should ever question their worth because an adult couldn't control their temper. Derek made his choice when he slapped a 6-year-old for singing. These are simply the consequences. Within hours, my phone exploded. Derek had discovered what I'd done. His messages turned from threatening to panicked. What have you done? The board called an emergency meeting. They're talking about suspending me. You need to tell them this is a family misunderstanding right now. My parents joined the barrage. My father's messages were coldly furious. You've betrayed this family for attention. My mother's increasingly desperate. Please call us. We can fix this together. I blocked them all. Paul called that evening. His voice hushed. Derek is losing his mind at your parents' house. They know I recorded everything, but they don't know I gave you a copy. Derek's threatening to sue you for defamation. Let him try, I replied calmly. Truth is an absolute defense against defamation. All I did was share his actual words and actions with people who should know about them. Your parents are saying you're unstable, that you've always been jealous of Derek. They're trying to convince everyone this is about the divorce and money. I laughed without humor. Of course they are. It's easier than admitting their golden child hit a kindergartner for singing too loudly. The next morning brought an unexpected call from Natalie, Derek's wife. Audrey, her voice strained. Can we meet somewhere private? When she arrived at the coffee shop, I was shocked by her appearance. She looked exhausted, with dark circles under red-rimmed eyes. I heard the recording, she said without preamble. Paul played it for Linda, and she called me. I need to know, she hesitated, twisting her wedding ring. Was this the first time Derek has done something like this? To Lily? Yes, I confirmed. But his temper has always been there, just usually directed at me. She nodded slowly. He has a temper at home, too. Never physical before, but... She looked down at her coffee. The way he spoke to Lily, the things he said about you both being useless. I've heard that tone before, directed at me. Something shifted in my understanding. Natalie, are you okay? Her eyes filled with tears. I don't know anymore. When everything started happening with his job and the charity board, he threw a glass across the kitchen. Said it was my fault for not defending him to my father, who's friends with one of the Meridian directors. I reached across the table and squeezed her hand. I'm sorry. I never wanted to hurt you. You didn't, she said firmly. Derek did this, and maybe I needed to see who he really is. She straightened her shoulders. I told him I'm staying with my sister for a while. He needs to get help for his anger. As Natalie and I parted ways, a text came through from Grace, my supervisor at Madison Marketing. Just got a strange call from someone named Derek Thompson asking questions about your employment. Said he was a potential reference. I didn't share any information. Is everything okay? My brother was clearly attempting damage control. I explained the situation briefly to Grace, sending her the audio clip as a precaution. Her response was immediate and supportive. That's horrific. Take whatever time you need for your daughter. Your job is secure, and if they contact anyone here again, we'll handle it appropriately. The professional consequences for Derek mounted quickly. By the end of the week, Meridian Financial had placed him on administrative leave pending an internal investigation. The children's charity removed him from their board immediately, citing their zero-tolerance policy. The mentorship program mutually agreed to pause his involvement. Community response was equally swift. Parents from Lily's school, neighbors, even distant acquaintances reached out with messages of support. Many shared their own stories of family abuse minimized as discipline. A small community of survivors formed around us. Derek attempted to control the narrative, claiming I had manipulated the recording and was using Lily as a pawn in a family disagreement about money. Few believed him once they heard the unedited audio. My phone rang again. This time, Paul. I just wanted you to know, he said quietly. Several other family members have approached me privately to say they witnessed Derek being physically aggressive with his nieces and nephews before. They were too afraid of your parents' reaction to speak up, but they're supporting you now. The revelation that Derek's behavior might have affected other children strengthened my resolve. This wasn't just about Lily anymore. It was about breaking a pattern of abuse disguised as discipline. As the consequences became increasingly public, Derek's attempts to contact me grew more desperate. He vacillated between rage and manipulation, threats and pleas for family loyalty. I maintained my silence, focusing instead on Lily's healing and our path forward. The foundation had been laid. The truth was in the open, documented, and undeniable. What happened next would depend on how Derek and my parents chose to respond to that truth. By the third week, the consequences had rippled through both his professional and personal life. Meridian Financial's investigation concluded with his demotion to a non-client-facing role, a significant step down. The children's charity permanently removed him. Most painfully for his ego, the story had circulated among his prestigious social circle, resulting in uncomfortable questions and canceled dinner invitations. Your parents are in damage control mode, Paul reported during one of our calls. They're telling everyone you've always been unstable and jealous of Derek's success. That's not surprising, I replied. They've been using that narrative my entire life. What I hadn't anticipated was the family division that emerged. My mother's sister, Catherine, called me directly. "I saw Derek slap your little girl," she admitted. I was across the room and didn't intervene. I've been ashamed of my silence ever since. "Why are you telling me this now?" I asked. "Because your parents are asking the family to present a united front against you, claiming you're exaggerating what happened. I can't be part of that lie. What Derek did was wrong, and their reaction was worse." Catherine wasn't alone. Gradually, other relatives reached out, creating authentic connections based on shared values rather than blood ties. Meanwhile, Lily was making progress with Dr. Garner. The nightmares had decreased, though she still grew anxious around loud male voices. Most encouragingly, she had started singing again, quietly at first, then with growing confidence, as I consistently reinforced that her voice was beautiful and welcome in our home. Weeks after the incident, my grandmother Martha, my father's mother, and the family matriarch summoned everyone to her home. "This has gone far enough," she declared on the phone. "I want both sides of the story, and I want the family to make peace." "There aren't two sides to hitting a child, Grandma," I replied. "Perhaps not," she conceded, surprising me. "But there needs to be a resolution. Sunday at 2. I expect you to be there." I consulted Dr. Garner, who was clear. "Absolutely not. This is adult business now. She shouldn't be exposed to potential conflict or be asked to relive her trauma." Tara agreed to watch Lily. As I drove to my grandmother's sprawling Victorian home, anxiety knotted my stomach. I hadn't seen my parents or Derek since the lake house. The tension in the formal living room was thick. My parents sat stiffly, my mother's face a mask of composure that couldn't quite hide her fury. Derek and Natalie sat separately, he leaning against the mantelpiece, eyes bloodshot. My grandmother entered last, radiating authority at 87. "I've lived long enough to see 5 generations of this family," she began without preamble. "And I've never been more disappointed than I am today." My father straightened. "Mother, if you'd just listen to our side." "Howard, I may be old, but I'm not senile," she cut him off sharply. "Paul was good enough to share the recording with me. I heard exactly what happened. You struck a child, a 6-year-old, for singing. Then you insulted both her and her mother. Your behavior was inexcusable." Derek's face flushed. "It wasn't that hard a slap. Everyone's overreacting." "Be quiet," grandmother snapped. "When a grown man hits a child, the force is irrelevant. It's the breach of trust, the abuse of power." She turned to my parents. "And you two encouraged it, laughed at it, dismissed it." My mother's composure cracked. "Martha, you don't understand. Audrey has always been difficult, always exaggerating." "Eleanor," my grandmother interrupted. "I raised your husband. I know exactly where Derek learned this behavior." Her gaze shifted to my father, whose face had gone pale. "Howard was disciplined harshly by his father. Too harshly. I regret every day that I didn't stop it. I won't make that mistake again." A heavy silence fell. "Audrey," my grandmother continued, "you did what I should have done decades ago. You protected your child even at great personal cost. For that, you have my respect. I hadn't expected this alliance. That said," she continued, "this family now stands at a crossroads. Healing is possible, but only with accountability." Derek pushed away from the mantelpiece. "Accountability? I've been publicly humiliated, demoted at work, kicked off the charity board I helped build. Isn't that enough punishment for one slap?" I found my voice at last. "This isn't about punishment, Derek. It's about acknowledging what you did and its impact. Lily has nightmares." She stopped singing, the thing that brought her joy. She asked me if she was bad. My voice broke. A 6-year-old child thought she deserved to be hit because the adults she trusted made her believe she was wrong for using her voice. "I didn't mean." Derek began, then stopped, genuinely at a loss. "That's just it," I continued. "You didn't mean to traumatize her. You just meant to control her, to make her small and quiet the way this family has always tried to control and diminish me. But intentions don't erase impact." My father stood abruptly. "This is ridiculous. We've indulged this drama long enough. Derek made a mistake, yes, but Audrey deliberately destroyed his reputation out of spite. No, Howard, my grandmother said firmly. Audrey showed people who Derek really is. He destroyed his own reputation through his actions. I can't believe you're taking her side, my mother exclaimed. I'm taking the side of that child, grandmother replied, as should you all. The confrontation escalated. Years of resentment and dysfunction poured out. Aunt Catherine described witnessing my father's harsh discipline of me as a child, while Derek received only gentle guidance. Cousin Jennifer revealed Derek had once twisted her son's arm for talking back. Uncle Robert admitted he'd seen Derek shove a business associate. A pattern emerged, Derek's unchecked aggression and my parents' consistent enabling. With each revelation, Derek's face grew darker, while my parents' denials became less convincing. Natalie finally spoke, her voice quiet but steady. I'm filing for separation. The room fell silent. What? Derek turned to her, genuinely shocked. This incident forced me to acknowledge things I've been ignoring for years, she continued. The way you speak to me when you're angry, the things you throw, the fear I feel when I hear your car in the driveway after you've been drinking. I've never hit you, Derek protested. No, she agreed. But hearing how you spoke to Lily and Audrey, seeing how your parents minimized it, I suddenly understood where our relationship was heading. I won't wait until it escalates further. The meeting continued for nearly 3 hours. By the end, several things had become clear. The family would never be the same. Lines had been drawn based on values rather than blood. Derek had lost far more than a professional title. He had lost the unwavering support system that had protected him from consequences his entire life. My parents faced a choice: acknowledge their role in enabling toxic behavior or lose relationships with multiple family members, including their only granddaughter. As the gathering broke up, my grandmother took my hand. It will take time, she said softly. Change doesn't happen overnight, especially in families with such entrenched patterns. But it started, and that's something. In the weeks that followed, the consequences continued to unfold. Derek's company issued a public statement about their commitment to family values and ethical conduct, implicitly distancing themselves from him. He was required to attend anger management therapy. Natalie moved out and filed official separation papers, confiding that she had miscarried twice during their marriage and now wondered if the stress of walking on eggshells around Derek's temper had contributed. My parents made halting, awkward attempts at reconciliation, clearly motivated more by damage control than genuine remorse. I maintained firm boundaries, making it clear that any relationship moving forward would require acknowledgement of the harm done to Lily and concrete steps to ensure her safety and emotional well-being. The most profound changes, however, happened within me. The woman who had once accepted mistreatment as her due now stood firmly in her power. The mother who had brought her child into a toxic environment in hopes of family connection now recognized that true family is defined by love and respect, not blood and obligation. 6 months after the incident, I sat in Dr. Garner's office for a progress update on Lily's therapy. She's doing remarkably well, the psychologist shared. Children are resilient, especially when they have a secure attachment to a protective caregiver. You've done everything right, Audrey. I didn't protect her from the initial trauma, I pointed out, guilt surfacing. But you responded perfectly afterward, Dr. Garner countered. You validated her feelings, removed her from danger, got her appropriate support, and held the perpetrator accountable. That's why she's healing. As I drove home, I reflected on the unexpected gifts that had emerged from this painful chapter: a stronger, more confident voice, healthier boundaries, the knowledge that I could protect my daughter even against powerful opposition, and perhaps most surprisingly, authentic connections with family members who shared my values rather than simply my DNA. Our small apartment, once a symbol of my post-divorce financial struggles, had become a true sanctuary filled with laughter, music, and, most importantly, safety. Lily's recovery continued to amaze me. Dr. Garner had reduced our sessions to monthly check-ins. She's singing again, I shared during our last appointment, emotion tightening my throat. Not just at home, but she joined the children's choir at the community center. That's significant progress, the doctor smiled. It means she no longer associates her voice with punishment or shame. Derek's career trajectory had been permanently altered. The once golden child now occupied a back office position with little client contact. His marriage had not survived. Natalie filed for divorce, confiding that the incident with Lily had forced her to acknowledge the emotional abuse she had normalized. "I keep thinking about what might have happened if we'd had children," she confided during one of our now regular lunch meetings. "Would I have recognized it then? Or would I have enabled him the way your parents did?" My relationship with my parents remained complicated. After multiple attempts at rug sweeping failed, they had grudgingly agreed to family counseling. "Reconciliation requires accountability," the family therapist stated firmly. "And accountability begins with acknowledging harm." It took 3 sessions before my father admitted, "I should have stopped Derek instead of encouraging him. What he did to Lily was wrong." My mother took longer, struggling to relinquish her role as family peacekeeper. "I just wanted everyone to get along," she explained tearfully. "I've always smoothed things over." "That's what mothers do." "No," I countered gently. "Mothers protect their children, even when it's difficult, even when it disrupts the peace." Progress with my parents was measured in small steps. They had not yet earned the right to unsupervised time with Lily, but we had established a schedule of brief, structured visits in neutral locations. I observed subtle changes, my father making efforts to engage with Lily on her terms, my mother catching herself before making critical comments. The family division that emerged had initially been painful, but ultimately proved healing. Relatives who had witnessed generations of toxic behavior finally spoke their truths, creating authentic connections. My grandmother, at 87, had become an unexpected ally and advocate. "I made mistakes with your father," she acknowledged during one of our weekly tea visits. "I saw the signs, but told myself that's just how men were in those days." By the time I recognized the damage, the patterns were set. Her candor helped me understand the generational nature of our family dysfunction without excusing it. More importantly, it strengthened my resolve to ensure these patterns ended with me. My career had taken a surprising turn. The confidence I found in standing up for Lily translated to my professional life. When a project management position opened, I applied despite believing it was beyond my qualifications. To my shock, I got the job. "Your handling of the crisis with your daughter showed exceptional leadership qualities," Grace explained. "You were strategic, maintained clear communication under pressure, and demonstrated remarkable integrity. Those are exactly the skills we need in this role." The increased salary meant we no longer needed financial assistance from my parents, removing the last lever of control they had held over my life. Perhaps the most unexpected development came through a support group I joined for parents navigating family trauma. Sharing my experience led others to disclose similar stories, creating a community of mutual support. With encouragement, I began speaking at local parenting workshops about recognizing and addressing family toxicity. "Your story resonates because it's about more than one incident," the facilitator explained. "It's about breaking generational patterns and choosing your child's well-being over family expectations. That's something many people struggle with." One crisp autumn morning, exactly 7 months after the lake house incident, we held a small gathering at our apartment. What Lily called our chosen family celebration. Tara was there, along with Paul and his children. He and Linda had separated, another casualty of the family reckoning. Natalie came with her sister. A few colleagues from work joined us, as did several members of our support group. Most surprisingly, my grandmother arrived with a hesitant-looking Eleanor in tow. My mother had asked to come, her first independent overture since everything happened. As everyone mingled, Lily tugged at my sleeve. "Mom, can I sing the song now?" she whispered. "Are you sure you want to?" I asked, knowing what this meant to her. She nodded determinedly. "I've been practicing with Miss Joanna's choir." I called for everyone's attention as Lily took her position by the window, sunlight illuminating her face. The room fell silent as she began to sing. Not the cartoon theme song that had triggered Derek's violence, but a simple children's ballad about courage and finding your voice. Her clear, sweet voice filled our home, without apology or fear. Watching her standing tall, eyes bright with confidence, I felt tears spring to my eyes. This was the true measure of our healing, not just surviving trauma, but reclaiming joy on the other side. When she finished, the room erupted in applause. My mother dabbed at her eyes with a tissue. "She has a beautiful voice," she said quietly. I should have said something that day. "Yes, you should have," I agreed. "But what matters now is what we all say and do going forward." That evening, after our guests had departed and Lily was tucked into bed, I sat on our small balcony watching the sunset. The past 7 months had been the most challenging and transformative of my life. I had lost certain family connections but gained authentic ones. I had faced financial uncertainty but found professional growth. Most importantly, I had shown Lily that she was worth protecting at any cost. The journey wasn't over. There would be more difficult conversations, more boundaries to establish and maintain, more work to do in therapy for both of us. But for the first time in my life, I faced the future without the shadow of family toxicity darkening my path. Derek's slap had been meant to silence a child. Instead, it had given voice to generations of suppressed truths. In trying to make Lily small, he had inadvertently helped me discover just how strong I could be. As mothers, we cannot always prevent our children from experiencing pain, but we can show them how to respond to it with dignity and courage. We can demonstrate that true strength lies not in dominating others, but in standing firmly in our own truth, even when we stand alone. My brother slapped my daughter for being too loud. My parents laughed. And in that terrible moment, they taught me the most valuable lesson of my life, that some family ties need to be severed for healing to begin, while others can be rewoven into something stronger and more beautiful than before.